around too. And that's why I never wanna see your face. I brush against your butt in bed. You look at me, say your face looks red. That's cause I got a case of the heartbreaks. And I still never wanna see your face. Oh, cheating, cheating, cheating blue. This is a song, it's a song for you. And I know you miss my face, but this project is supposed to have space. Ooh, John, I'm supposed to song for you. You better give me the A grade too, cause I put a lot of hard work into this here that very old so pretty song. This is where our story begins, in a hazy fog of buildings, a hazy fog of clouds of space. That's where.
All right, everybody, thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you're watching live, really appreciate it. And don't forget, if you are watching live, you can tweet your questions to hashtag AskOTBPod.
Yes.
AskOTBPOD. And if you got any questions for Godfrey along the way. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Like I said, we've been ripping through these interviews. They've been a lot of fun. This is one I've been looking forward to for a very long time. And I'm so pumped to get to it. But before we get to it, I got to introduce co-host McCrae. What's up, bro?
Not much. How's it going?
Dude, hey, you've been knocking it out.
No,
This is
you
lots
have
of
been
stress with the behind the curtain stuff that people don't see.
Yeah.
I mean, and we even had like a total, who knew that Peely was going to throw us a curveball?
Yeah.
And
Oh no,
anyway.
I love troubleshooting. That's my favorite thing. Even if I get it wrong, I love fucking around and doing different shit. Yeah, but whatever. Enough about that. Spencer, you've been doing great. Good job. And guns. But really here, what we're here for today is we're here to get into the mind of Godfrey, get into the mind of God, and just really figure out what's going on. Yeah, I just like that.
Exploration
Yeah.
into the
That's
mind
like one
of
of the
God.
one of the best things about this whole season is everyone, like, all the God jokes are just been amazing. Just everything about God, bow down to God, praise God, just all that. But really, I want to know where it all started. Where did you find Big Brother? Like, how did you get into Big Brother? What made you want to audition for Big Brother?
Oh man, yo, what up, McCrae, Spencer? Good actually getting to talk to you guys, man. I've been looking forward for this interview too. But what got me into Big Brother, like, seriously, I'm just like one of those guys who I like watching reality TV shows. I've always been interested with the concept of people voting each other off. Like, I always wondered, and being a psychology major, it's something like I actually study it, and I have a huge interest in just social behavior, human interaction. And like, what brought me to audition to Big Brother, I'll be honest, was the $100,000. It was all about the cash. I'm like, hey, I'm broke as shit. I gotta pay for my student loans. I'm like, how am I gonna do this? And I just sat down one day. I was watching season 2, and I'm like, wait a minute, Godfrey, you watch this literally every season. You know the ins and outs of Big Brother. You know the strategies. Why don't you put your money where your mouth is? Go audition. I told my sister, she's like, you're crazy. You're going to be the first one voted out. That's if you even make it on the show. And I was like, all right, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to audition, So that's just what inspired me to audition. It was partly bragging rights to say that, hey, I did it, and I did well. But mostly it was all about the money. If there was no cash prize, I probably would have just stayed in school and not done it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all right. So, like, when you're getting into like the auditioning process, like, what is your frame of mind? Like, what's your audition technique? Because there's a bunch of people that want to know, like, how to audition. Like, they don't understand, they don't know. So, like, how did you do it? What did you do? What did you say to these producers to get them to put you on the show?
Well, for me, my mindset walking into the auditions was to keep your mind on the money, on the goal. Don't get caught up in, oh, my favorite player is this guy and that guy. I'm like, screw those guys. They have been. They did their thing. It's time for you to do your thing. So I set myself apart from the rest. I didn't focus mostly on, well, I'm going to play like this guy or I'm going to play like that guy. I just said, hey, guys, this is who I am. And I told them the straight up truth. I didn't lie and say that I was there because I love Big Brother to death. I said, hey guys, I'm here to make some money. And they're like, great, that's what we want to see. We want people who want to make cash and who are willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And so like that was just my strategy to convince the producers that I'm willing to do anything to win, because that's what they want to see. They want to see people who are there to compete.
Absolutely. Super smart. All right, so like you're getting through the process. You're making it past these checkpoints and such. So you find out you're going on to Big Brother. It's got to be the best feeling ever, of course. But so when you go in there, like the night of, like, what is your feeling walking in? What's your character? What are you gonna do when you walk in? What's your game plan? And then like when you do walk in, how does it differ? What's going on in your head when you walk in that first night?
Well, like walking in, like before, I remember the night before I got into the Big Brother house, like, you know, the whole past month was pure excitement. Like, man, I'm going into the Big Brother house. Yeah. But then it turns from excitement to nervousness and fear. Because I was like, man, I don't want to get voted out first, be an embarrassment. Because, like, it's going to live with you forever. Like, whatever job you have, they're going to be like, hey, you got kicked out first, didn't you? So it was a lot of fear. You guys can relate to this, you know. But walking in, I calmed myself down, you know. I really calmed myself. And, like, my strategy is exactly what I did in that house. I said, I'm going to keep a low profile. Like, I've watched all the guys who played a flawless game, Dr. Will, Derek, and all they had in common is that they came in and they went too extroverted at first in the first half of the game. They were those guys who were low-key, who people would be like, man, what the hell is this guy doing here? This guy is freaking, he's a loser. He doesn't know what he's doing. I was like, if I can convince the house guests that, like, I'm just a regular Joe who has no clue what he's doing, like, that was my strategy. Keep a low profile. I want people to not know I exist the first half of the game, you know? And hopefully the entire game, if I could just fly under the radar and keep good relationships, that was my strategy, you know? And, like, it was hard to execute.
Yes, no doubt it was. We're going to break that down. I want to talk to you about that first week, okay?
Yep.
Going in, there was no HOH. Everybody was HOH. You know, the nominations started out being Risha and Cindy, which was just fine because Godfrey on that
the
list.
Godfather was safe, man. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So then Cindy wins. I'm sure there was some nerves not knowing who would be nominated, but then Peely goes up. So you're straight, no big deal. You're at that point, you're safe to start trying to execute your game. Now, I do want to talk about one thing because Kevin mentioned in an interview with us that when they were voting very first, when everybody was HOH and you could go in and vote, he said that he heard you whisper, vote out the guy with the vest on or something like that.
Oh, boy.
Did Kevin scare you at first?
Hey, to be honest, yo, like, I will tell you right now, I said no such thing. I will admit, Kev did scare me at first. He did scare me, but, like, on the first day, no, like, that, he must have heard it from someone else, you know, like, actually, I didn't really care who was gonna go up, man. I was like, as long as it ain't me, it's the first night.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, you know, like.
As long as it ain't you.
Not the guy with the vest on. I should have said that. I should have.
That's funny. Yeah. All right, man. So you're safe this week. Are you aware the Chop Shop forms day 2 and you're not in it? Are you aware that this alliance is forming up? What are you seeing the divisions in the house break down? And who are you trying to bond with most closely?
Well, I'll tell you right now, right off the bat, you know, like, before anything even happened, like, the first day, me and Greg, we kind of had a conversation. Greg, the first thing he asked me before he even said hi in the house was, are there any alliances? And I was like, holy, this guy's here to play. Like, he's, you know, if I don't align with this guy right now, he's going to start something of his own. So I was kind of onto Greg. I knew he was a wild card. I knew the guy was ready to make big moves. So I figured if I stay close to Greg, I'll be out of his crosshairs, you know. So, like, that second day, I already saw he had a lot of influence over a few people. And I'm like, I got to convince this dude that I'm 100% on his team. I'm his right-hand man. And I think that saved me a couple weeks because Greg was like, wait, you got to worry about God. God is with me. So,
Okay. So, like, Greg thought that he had you in his pocket. So you were
He definitely did, you know. Totally. I reinforced that every day, make sure he not exactly that.
Yes. Okay. Absolutely. All right. Well, good deal. So you're seeing the divisions. Um, let's see. At this point, early in the game, like you're this week one, are you starting to are you sleeping? You laying low, or are you out really trying to socialize right now? What are you doing? Before the feeds come on? What are you doing?
Like here's the interesting thing about that. I came into the house saying I gotta keep a low profile, but I kind of got too carried away on the first night. Like before the vote, I wasn't whispering to vote out Kev, but I was whispering to nominate a bunch of people. I was trying to set something up. I'm telling everybody. I'm telling Zach. I'm telling JP. I'm like, guys, let's not vote each other out. Let's put Bobby. He's strong. And I was like, I played 3 weeks a game in like the first 2 hours. I think I pretty much approached everybody to try and make an alliance with them. And I noticed right after that Godfrey, you put a huge target on your back. Now people are worried about you. And the only way for me to sort of overcompensate and redeem myself was from now on, I'm just going to take naps, show people that, hey, I'm not that threatening. See, I'm not talking strategy, I'm sleeping. And it was part of my strategy to just sleep, seem like I'm disinterested and I'm not really here to win the game. I'm just on vacation, And that was like part of
That's adaptation.
Exactly.
Like, that is a
You
huge
gotta
part of the
adapt. You
game.
gotta-
Yeah, you gotta, like, fucking, something's not working, you gotta fucking switch it up right away, That's
Absolutely.
big.
Hell yeah.
Very big.
So-
I'm telling you.
So, all right, dude. Canada, they're the voting that week. So, like, any of the campaign that was done to you didn't make any difference because you didn't have to vote. Canada votes. They're going to send Risha home.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of where it kind of gets in. It's kind of starts some interest right here for me. Is that Bobby's going to win HOH. You are not his target. You are not nominated. He's in an alliance that you're not in. But he gets Cindy out, so it's kind of Cindy was on one side of the house, Bobby was on the other. So where did you kind of try to cement yourself in that week?
And the week that Cindy went home, like right there, I noticed right away that there was a division. I was not fully aware of the entire members of the Chop Shop, but I kind of knew there was a girl-guy divide. You had Sarah, Britt, Cindy, Neha on one side, and Johnny. And then you had Greg, Zach, JP, Bruno, Bobby, and them on the other side. And right there, I was like, okay, these are the two sides. I got to keep myself right in the middle, so I tried to make myself a free agent. And I wanted people to approach me and try to recruit me instead of me going up to them because I thought it would give them too much power if I went up to them and said, hey, you want me to put me in an alliance? I'm like, I'm just going to chill. They're going to need numbers sooner or later, and they're going to come running to me and trying to pitch themselves. So, like, I just stayed low-key, take as much naps as you can during the day, make yourself seem less intelligent, If anybody asks you a question, just give the most ridiculous answer I could. And I did that all the time, Anything they asked me, I made sure the most foolish answer would come out of my mouth, And, like, I had to sell that persona of, I'm really a dumb guy who doesn't know what's going on.
That's awesome.
That's big.
Like, on the feeds, like, and keeping up with with the updates and stuff, people they'd share on social media about the Godfrey stories and all this kind of stuff.
Man,
so you definitely made your mark. Absolutely. So, all right, buddy, let's see. Let's keep going. Cindy's going to go home. This is a pretty new. What does Cindy leaving matter to you at all? Anything at all? She wasn't an ally or an enemy, right? She was just neutral.
To be honest, with Cindy going home, I was a bit disappointed because I would have preferred somebody like Kevin to go home because I always viewed him as he'd be the guy to beat. Like, the dude did win a veto and saved himself, and, like, right off the bat, that scared me because, like, I knew he was a clutch player, and when he needed to come through, he would pull through. So I was kind of disappointed to see Cindy on the block. I would have preferred she stayed because she had a lot of heat on her. Not a lot of people liked Cindy in the house, whereas Britt, I knew Britt was going to have longevity in the game because she was already being seen as a pawn. That scared me. I was like, why is Britt staying, She is never going to be a target. Why not keep Cindy, who's a bigger target? But at that point, I was like, you know what? Don't campaign. You're safe. Just keep quiet. Let it go as it's going, When you're in trouble, then you campaign, But
exactly.
don't
you don't worry
for
about
somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
hey,
so
why
smart.
were people seeing Brittany as a pawn early on? She ended up being one of the more dominant players of the season, and
Exactly.
why was she perceived as weak, or what led her to that pawn position so early on?
Brittany, the best pawn in the business, man. Like I think it all had to do with her falling off first, and right away because she had been on the block, and then she was nominated the very next day to go on the block again. She kind of solidified herself as a pawn because people were like,
Gotcha.
okay, you haven't had votes cast against you, and at that stage of the game, nobody wants to get blood on their hands by nominating somebody else. So why not go with the safe
Keep
play
going.
and nominate Britt? Like evidently
Sure.
they made a mistake as the game progressed, and we saw that Britt was not
Yes.
nowhere near a pawn.
Yeah, I gave Kevin a hard time in an interview about using her as a pawn, like right before she wins the triple eviction that sends his ass home. So,
Bad timing.
yeah. But all right, buddy. Hey, the instant eviction. Kevin's going to win HOH. Obviously, y'all don't have a close relationship. Were you afraid? Were you kind of sweating here? I know you didn't know it was an instant, so
Yeah.
you didn't know noms are going to be made.
I had no idea.
But what were you trying to do to keep yourself safe after Kevin won HOH?
When Kevin won HOH, I was actually set up really, really good in the house. Greg was the head honcho. He was controlling people. And I had managed to convince him and Bruno that, hey, guys, I'm loyal to you guys to a fault. I will never vote you out. So they were not threatened by me. And I knew they had a lot of influence in the alliance, the Chop Shop. I didn't know it was the Chop Shop, but I knew there was a group, and Greg had power over that. So I knew I was going to be safe. And plus, I didn't have a close relationship with Kev, but I had kind of hinted to him that, hey, I'm with the boys. I'm going after the girls. And I knew they were bigger targets. They were gunning for Johnny and Neha. For whatever reason, I really don't give a damn. They weren't gunning for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was
exactly.
pretty safe. I was pretty safe in that instant, Like, I don't think I really sweated that much at all.
Okay. So Neha's going to go home. She almost got Kevin to kind of turn some things around in the house. And honestly, I don't really think that would have made much difference. Would her flip have made much difference?
To my game?
Yes. Yeah. Would it, at this point, would it have made a whole lot of difference to your game, or would you still have been able to ride the middle?
To be honest, I still think I would have been able to ride the middle if she flipped the house because, like, I was not registered to any side of the house, I was
Sure.
not part of any alliance. So, because the thing about alliances, this is the way I view alliances. Whenever you have two people who are seen as tight, that's like putting a dagger right through you. Because whenever they want to get rid of one of you, they're going to nominate you both as a pair. So I try to not be associated to any particular person,
Sure.
And some people in the house were so dumb. Like, these guys were openly admitting, you'd hear Ash say, Peely's my ride or die. You'd hear Bobby say, Bruno's my guy. And I'm like, guys, why are you exposing that? Like,
Yeah.
now
Sure.
when you get nominated, you're going up together as a pair.
Absolutely. And one thing that's very awesome about you going through the entire game without any alliances is that no matter who went home, as long as it wasn't you, and it obviously ends up never being you, it doesn't matter. For the most part, it doesn't matter. You're not losing. You don't lose in an ally. Now you lose some people that would have had your best interest in mind, but you don't lose like a hard, steadfast ally with another complete side coming at you. You never had
Exactly.
that. Okay, so Neha is nothing happens with her attempts to flip the house. It does no instant eviction. She goes home, and then all of a sudden, Brittany wins. Brittany wins the next HOH. Okay, she's going to put up Bobby and Kevin, which is not you, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And then, like, you knew this week that it was obvious to everybody that Greg had to go. Everybody knew that. Everybody but Greg knew that this plan was in place. So Greg goes, you did know, correct? You were obviously in on enough to know that from that side of the house. Or did you just kind of heard in the rumor mill, or did somebody directly tell you that?
That Greg was going home? I heard, like, when I kind of caught on that she was gunning for Greg, because when she nominated Greg, I was actually surprised, because I didn't think she was going to make that big of a move. Like, she just put two huge targets as pawns. Like, who does that in the Big Brother house? Usually put floaters as pawns. So I was like, man, Britt is scaring me right now. And she puts Greg. I went upstairs. I remember that night. I talked to her, and I was like, wow, like you're really doing it. And she's like, yes, Godfrey, it's best for your game and mine. Greg is a loose cannon. And I really didn't want to see Greg go because like my whole philosophy is you keep bigger targets in front of you. And
Sure.
they go with you to the end and they will always go before you. And right there, Greg was sort of my shield because I was behind him. I had enough information to know what his plans were about because he did trust me to tell me who he was targeting. So like I did not want to see him go. Like I thought he'd be great for my game, and unfortunately, like he just buried himself.
Of course.
No, he really did. But so okay, so that's interesting. So what I'm hearing is that like you really wanted Greg to stay just because he was a bigger target. Okay, I like a lot of people in the game, and it's obviously a very common strategy is to keep bigger targets in front of him. Greg was everybody's everybody's meat shield. The first few weeks. And that's just really funny because obviously he was playing hard. He was
playing super hard. Oh,
so,
this guy would stay up at night until 3 in, and he'd be like, "Those two people, I saw them in the pantry talking. They're in an alliance." Like he was losing his mind, man. Poor Greg, man.
When he was nominated, when he was the renom, I know that Bruno campaigned really hard for him to stay.
Oh yeah.
Did Bruno campaign hard to you, or did he feel like you were a vote for sure that for Greg? Or I mean, I know that y'all just said that you act like you were ride or die with him, but at the same time, what was Bruno's campaign strategy to keep Greg to you?
Like Bruno to me just told me the same thing that like Greg is a bigger target. We need to keep him because like if he goes, who's gonna go next? Bruno was already well known as Greg's right hand man. So I think for Bruno, it was really important that Greg stayed more so than me. Because me, if he went or stayed, it really didn't make much difference. It was just preference. But for Bruno, he really needed Greg. And he did pitch hard to me over the days leading up to the eviction.
Okay. Well, here's...
I'm kind of curious.
When did Black and Brew form?
That was day 2, man. Like literally, me, Greg, and Bruno, we all sat together, and then like Greg was a loose cannon in those few days, man. Like this guy would talk game openly with other people, and like we knew that like Greg was our boy, but he was putting a big target on our backs. So I remember me and Bruno would sit down in the hot tub, and I was like, dude, let's not bullshit each other. No alliance bullshit. Let's just promise each other I will never throw you under the bus or vote you out, and you promise to do the same to me. We don't have to share everything, but we just got to let each other know when one of our names comes up. And then we shook on that, and from that day onwards, that's the way it was. Even though I had side deals with everybody, I still reported back to Bruno and told him if his name came up. And like I'd like to think he did the same to me, which I'm pretty sure he did, And like that's when we became Black and Brew, He came up with a name, man. I don't even know what that means,
but Bruno came up. That's funny.
Yeah,
that's so good.
That's great. All right. So did Bruno's campaigning for Greg to stay? Did that impact his relationship with Bobby in any way?
Actually, I don't think it did because he was quite subtle through his campaign.
Okay.
Like he did not go around telling everybody. He just went to people he knew would possibly flip, like me. And I think he went to possibly Britt. No, not Britt. Who am I talking about? Willow. But other than that, he really didn't go to much of the house because like he was smart enough to know that hey, you're gonna bury yourself if you keep campaigning.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Good deal. So all right. So Greg's out of the house. He leaves, and week 4, you're going to be in pretty good shape again because Bruno's going to win the HOH and the Power Veto.
Good week.
This is a good week when Sarah and Johnny are on the block, and Johnny's going to end up going. You're safe this week. You and Bruno have a good relationship. You don't have much to worry about. What are you doing to stay in the middle? What kind of relationships are you maintaining with Zach at this time? What relationships are you maintaining with? I know you and Bobby and Bruno are kind of hanging out a little bit at this time.
Yeah.
Tell me about but that's not all the relationships. You still got Jordan in the house. You still got Kevin, Peely, Sarah's on the block. Johnny, they're both going to take some time campaigning to you. Like, how do you keep yourself in the middle this week? And tell me where you see your game going forward.
like at this point of a game, like I really actually wasn't really campaigning or talking much to anybody because like my whole belief is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I had been saved for like how many evictions from basically doing nothing and sitting down and
Sure.
taking naps and talking a whole bunch of foolishness whenever I got the chance to do it. So I'm like, Godfrey, this shit is working, man. Like, keep doing that. So I really didn't care. Like, I never went up to Sarah or Johnny to ask them, do you guys want my vote? Because I was like, hey, I'm good. Y'all gotta come to me if you need my help. So I was just playing the middle, you know. I was just talking to people, having fun, making them laugh, and just building that persona because my persona wasn't quite sold yet. You got to think about it, McCray, Spencer. Like me, I'm a pretty built guy walking into the house.
Absolutely.
Automatically, people are going to assume, okay, this guy's going to be good at comms.
Yep.
And for me, it was an uphill battle to convince people that no, I actually suck at competitions. Like I had to be 24/7 reinforcing that perception.
That is a huge
brainwashing them.
I think that's a huge part of your game. Like you ended up convincing them that you're like, oh, Godfrey doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Godfrey's just sleeping all the time.
He was a bigger threat than me.
And you do it very well, and you do it to all these house guests. Like I think that's like one of your things about your game is like really this really in-depth awesome game that I think that people aren't going to look at as well as they should because this is a game-winning game that you're playing here. This is the game that I wish Gina Marie played where just like I just wish at the end of it she just was like I'm a brain surgeon, like I'm very smart, just come out of it and be like boom.
I certainly do wish, and we'll get to this point soon, but I certainly do wish that the jury was able to understand your game the way we as outsiders and as people who've played the game before are able to see. Because Craig's right. Like you played a fun game.
And you took elements of so many other people's games. Like, and I know that you say that you didn't want to play anyone else's games, but you took like this Dr. Will element. But we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Definitely sort of inspired by those guys.
And you did it without like convincing. You did it without people thinking like, oh yeah, like this dude's trying to pull a Dr. Will. Like, come on. You have to do it without getting caught, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all about being subtle, like just don't it's like when you're cooking, you want a little salt, you don't toss the whole freaking can in. You just put a little bit, and then you get that savory taste,
Oh, you are definitely a chef at this game. You're definitely a chef.
That's all you see. It's all about how you're perceived by people. Once you control their perception, you control their behavior,
Absolutely.
Because, if they see you as a nobody, they're not going to be scared of you, Like, if you're out there, and, your ego is forcing you to portray yourself as this big-time player, people are going to think you're a big-time player and vote your ass out,
Absolutely.
So, I have to humble myself and just make myself seem, really, just kind of like you, Spencer, that's how you were able to survive the block that many times.
Absolutely.
Because people legitimately thought you were not a threat.
Absolutely.
Until they smartened up on Final 3 and were like, wait a minute, get this damn beard guy out of here,
Absolutely.
Yeah, hell yeah. I appreciate that. That's really a compliment. I do appreciate that, Godfrey. Thank you. But man, this is where kind of stuff is about to go kind of crazy for you. We're at the point in your game where, like, your game's turning around. You're going to be a little bit more in the spotlight because you're going to start getting nominated, quite frequently. Here, you've already been. You haven't been nominated yet, have you? No, you started week 5.
Yeah, not yet nominated.
Yeah. 5, 6, 8, 10 of day 63 is your only nomination. Yep. So this is where we're going to start it. So Zach wins HOH, and do you have any relationship whatsoever with Zach other than just kind of hanging out, making him think that you're goofy?
To be honest, me and Zach never really had that much of a close relationship. We were cool in the house and we talked a lot, but we never really connected. We weren't boys, but we did talk. And we basically lied to each other. I knew he was lying to me when he told me, hey, you're safe. Because I knew I had been, at that time, I hadn't yet started throwing competitions. And I was actually trying to go hard and win HOHs. And I think that put a huge target on my back because Zach realized that every comp he won, I was right neck and neck with him. So I kind of saw that coming. I was like, you know what? I have a good chance of going on the block if Zach wins HOH. But at the same time, I was still trying to nurture our relationship, and convince him that it's in his best interest to keep me on his side and go for other bigger targets like Kev and,
Yeah, Oh,
share all
absolutely.
the likes of them.
But yeah, I mean, at this point in time, so did you have any clue that Kevin and Jordan and Zach were working together?
That I actually had absolutely no clue, because every time Zach would talk to me, he was gunning for Kevin, and I really believed that was legitimate. So that was a shocker to me to find out that all three of them were in fact together.
Okay, interesting. So, when you're nominated with Jordan, what do you think? So you didn't have a clue. You just said you didn't know that Zach and Kevin were working together because Zach said he was gunning for Kevin. But did you think that Zach and JP were working together? Did you think it was a big?
That was pretty obvious to anybody. Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone and their grandma knew that it was the most obvious alliance in the house.
Okay. So when he put you up against JP, what did you think? What did you think about that?
When he put the two of us up, right away I was like, JP is a pawn. I'm going home. He wants me out. But at the same time, I did try to look at both ends of it. I was like, you know what? Maybe Zach really trusts me so much that he'd put me and Jordan as a pawn. Because what gave it away was I knew he was close to Jordan. So I knew there's no way Jordan was a target. So I was like, how can you have two pawns? Like, usually you have one pawn, not two. So, like, in the back of my head, like, I was like, you know what? Okay, maybe we're both pawns. But my gut feeling was just telling me that, like, he's actually trying to target me or he's trying to backdoor somebody else.
Okay, did he talk to you? And he was that week. He wanted to backdoor Bobby or Bruno is what he was considering, but he didn't want to. He did not want to do that early against the Chop Shop, even though the Chop Shop did not exist really at this point. But did he share with you a plan to backdoor anybody, or did he just tell you that you're safe? But then you felt like that was bullshit, and then especially after the veto was not used by him. What did you think with all that? Did you
Well, he actually told me right away the night before. I went into the room and I'm like, okay, so who are you thinking about putting up? And Zach is like, oh, I don't want to get blood on my hands. I'll think about it. And when you leave a conversation like that, you kind of know.
Yeah.
So I find out I am nominated. He talks to me. He's like, Godfrey, you're a pawn. I swear you are. My plan is to backdoor Bobby. No, his plan was to backdoor Kev, is what he told me. But then he said he also told the other house that his plan was to backdoor Bobby. So it's like, okay, Godfrey, don't be suspicious when you hear other people say, I'm after Bobby. Because I just told them that. And right away, I was like, dude, you're playing it too hard. This is all confusing. I'm like, you're telling everybody one thing, you're telling the other people the other. But, like, I had confidence that maybe he did want to backdoor those people. Because I was like, I've done a pretty good job at convincing you guys I'm not a threat. Why would you want to go get rid of me? So, like, I was hoping he backdoors one of those two people. Because I thought they would beat me in the game. But, like, my gut feeling was just telling me something is really fishy about that plan, And, like, he wasn't really interacting with me that week. He was kind of avoiding me, which was all, like, like when you take psychology, these are signs of somebody, like, guilt. They don't want to look you in the eye because, like, they pretty much don't want any confrontation.
Shame. Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
Shame.
Yes. So, hey,
Absolutely.
when one thing we failed to mention, but it's very important to mention, on day 30, Cindy is going to re-enter the house. She's going to come back with a lot of information about the Chop Shop and stuff. So I want you to tell me about the information she brings back and how the whole flip stuff starts when you find out about it, and just kind of fill us in on behind the scenes of the flip.
Walk you guys through this. So Cindy, we find out somebody's coming back into the house. It actually turns out to be Cindy, the one person I didn't want to come back in because I kind of blew up on her before she left, called her out.
Famously.
So I'm pretty confident she's going to be against me.
Famously.
The camera, that was funny.
That was amazing.
I'm telling you. So I'm like, this girl's going to go after me for sure, Like, she wants payback. She's probably smiling that I'm on the block. So she comes back, and, like, fortunately for me, the house had made a pact to get rid of Cindy, or whoever came back in the house. So I used that information to go. I told Cindy to gain trust, and I said, hey, the house is coming after you. You might as well pick sides right now because the people you're with are not really with you. And at first, she kind of blew me off. She's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Well, they told me about it already. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if they told you. They're just telling you that to, make you feel better. But anyway, I tell her that, and then she finds out that this was before the flip, right? Yeah. Then she goes and no, she didn't share the information about the chop shop. That was after JP had left. At that point, that was just like her flipping the house, you know. So like I talked to her and I said, "Hey, Cindy, you'd rather go with me, cause like at least you know where I stand, and I have no loyalties. I'll be loyal to you if I stay. Whereas Jordan is loyal to Zach, like you know, and he's gonna do whatever Zach tells him to do." So Cindy doesn't talk to me for about 2 days, and then one morning, I'm just happened to be doing my laundry. She comes up to me and she says, "Godfrey, you have my vote." And I was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm just staying next to Jordan so that I can make him not be suspicious." And right away, I was like, "Okay, I got ammunition right now. I got one vote locked in." Bruno
But
and
how
Bobby,
did you trust her? How did you trust that?
How did I trust that? Well, like, here's the thing. I figured Cindy has nothing to gain from telling me that she's going to vote for me. If anything, she's putting a target on her back because I could easily spread that information and make people gun for her the next week. So I knew she was a rational person, kind of. She was at least smart enough to, like, you know, want to keep me.
Not be,
so I go to Bobby and Bruno. I tell them, like, guys, Zach told me he was coming after you two guys, and that's actually why I'm on the block, because I refused to go with that plan, which was totally fabricated. But, like, it was funny, too. Like, I think Zach was going to do it anyway, so I actually did them a favor. But anyway, I told those two that, and the hardest part was convincing Sarah and Britt, because Sarah and Britt didn't trust Bobby and Bruno, and Bobby and Bruno didn't trust Sarah and Brittany. Each side thought that, like, you know, Sarah thought that Bruno was only telling me he'd keep me, so that they vote to keep me, and then they are the only 2 votes, and the house is after them.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, the hardest task was just bringing those 2 people together. I finally found a way to lock them into one room. I ran downstairs. I'm like, okay, guys, you decide. I don't care if you're keeping me or not. Just at least talk it out. I go downstairs, and, like, apparently they locked it in that night, and they were like, okay, we got to keep Godfrey. And the funny thing, for each individual, it was all for different reasons, you know. It was not for the same goal. Like, each had their own motives. And, like, I was just happy that, like, you know, I was able to sell myself in that crucial time. And all that was left for me was just to sell it now. Pretend like I'm going home for the entire week, not let anyone catch on. And I wanted the vote to be a surprise, you know, like, because I knew if I told people that, yeah, I got 5 votes, they were going to be like, oh, okay, great. Now we're going to convince those people not to vote for you. So I just played it cool from that point on, and then the rest is history. You know, you see that picture of me celebrating, the work was done.
That was awesome. That was on our podcast all season. All season after that. So
no way.
That's badass. Dude, we were pumped all day about this house flip. We were stoked about it, dude. I was freaking giddy just beside myself.
Yeah, we love Jordan.
But in the house, you felt it.
Oh my God, yeah, we could see it from outside. We could just see like the flip of everyone, like the like, holy shit, this is gonna work. Like fucking, like you were excited, you fucking had shit. We're on lockdown, you know, and fucking then it just all plays out, and it's like, yeah, I do like Jordan, of course, but it's like, man, this is just like the flip of the house is the just greatest feeling ever. When, especially when you're on the right side of the flip.
Even when people vote unanimously, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I know fans hate that unanimous vote.
Fuck it, doesn't matter.
Vote, and that was the first time people actually were divided and were like, you know what? I'm gonna take a stand and control my own game. Yeah. And like, I'm happy that, like, you know, I was able to convince the key people to make that flip. You know. Yeah. Because I know, like, Cindy takes a lot of credit for it. Oh, I flipped the house. I'm like, Cindy, you wouldn't have done that if I hadn't actually had to sit you down and drill it into you that, hey, you gotta keep me.
We saw you doing work, man. We saw you doing work.
Well, I mean, dude, you were able to broker a deal between Sarah and Bruno, which, as we all know, especially the way things escalate towards the end of the season, they had a tense relationship at best. So for them to be able to work together to save, for you to have to depend on Bruno and Sarah to work together, it was stressful as hell, man. I give it to you, man. That was a great flip. It was a great blindside. And as a fan, I love it. McCray and I both agree that we really like Jordan, of course, as a person outside the house. But even watching him, we liked the alliances that he was in and some stuff he was doing. Yeah. But, man, that's almost what made it even sweeter. He got that wrecking ball. Yeah.
I'm telling you, that kid, he was good at this game, man. Yes, like, he would have gone really far and possibly won it had he stayed.
Absolutely.
There's a good chance that he definitely had the smarts. There's no telling. I'm sure Twist would have eaten his lunch before it was all said and done.
Yeah.
But hey, tell me about your relationship with Sarah and Brittany at this point. I know that you and Bruno are close, and Bobby. But tell me about your relationship with Sarah and Brittany. You've alluded to it a little bit, but I still kind of want to know, just at this point in the game, are you talking to them daily? Do you have lunch with them?
Yeah.
Do you just telling them goofy stories? What are you doing? What are you doing with respect to that side of the house right now? Because obviously moving forward, your game is going to get a lot busier, and the relationship with Sarah and Brittany is going to play a huge role. So I want to know what it's at this point right now.
So at this point, like with Sarah and Brittany, there's a little interesting rule, like I learned in behavioral psychology, called the law of reciprocation, which is that usually we tend to like people who like us. So when you see somebody talking really highly of you, you turn to be warmer towards them because you're like, hey, this person really likes me. I should perhaps like them back. And that was my trick with Brittany. I flirted with her. I made sure I made her believe that I was deeply infatuated with her. That way, she's like, you know what, Godfrey, he's head over heels for me. There's no way he's going to want to get rid of me. And of which I partly was, man. That girl's hot.
Absolutely.
That was my trick with Brittany. I'm like, just flirt with the girl, compliment her every day, make her think that you are really interested in her and that you really want to work with her. And then my trick with Sarah, on the other hand, was Sarah, I knew her back was against the wall at that time. So my bonding technique was just to say, hey, we're both the underdogs. We're both at the bottom of the barrel. Let us work together. Let's get rid of these big dogs. They have showmances. We don't have anything. And I really started just fostering that relationship, nurturing it, making sure every time I would at least report some information to them, whether it's true or not, didn't matter. They just had to know I was feeding them something so they can be like, this guy is a valuable asset to have. The same with Bruno. If I had a conversation with Sarah, I'd tell Bruno about it. If I had a conversation with Bruno, I'd tell Sarah about it. That way they each saw me as a information source,
Yeah.
And I just started just nurturing it.
God,
right on. Excellent. Okay,
So good.
well, Jordan just leaves the house. You were played a vital role in the orchestration of this house flip. You stay. You know that Zach is going to be pissed. Do you know if Peely's about to win HOH? Do you know that Peely and Zach are working together?
At this point, I knew Zach had a lot of people under his thumb, Peely being one of them. He had a lot of control over Ashley, and Ashley controlled Peely. So I knew Zach pretty much controlled Peely, Ashley, and Kev. He decided what those guys did, we might not have known that the name was the Diaper Alliance, but it was pretty obvious that the two couples in the house are working together. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
And if one of them wins, I'm target number one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, so at the time, you didn't know that JP leaving had really any effect necessarily directly on Peely's game.
JP leaving? I think it did not affect Peely's game.
Okay, so when she was HOH, you did not necessarily get scared about that because what was your relationship with Peely at this point? Anything?
Well, at this point, this was really after the Jordan eviction. That was my coming out party. At that point, I knew I was no matter what happens, I'm pretty much set for a good long time in this house. I knew I wasn't going anywhere. I had finally convinced the house that yes, I'm weak, I'm dumb, and everyone was buying it. So I knew for a fact, this is how you see where the level at what my social game was.
So you became the pawn at this point, in your head, you were just I can't do no wrong. No one's gonna evict me because I'm the pawn. Okay.
People literally were willing. I had just survived eviction, and they were more pissed off at Cindy than they were at me.
Yeah.
That's how
they do.
Yeah.
They've got.
That's so good.
Nominates you and Cindy because they come out guns blazing for both of you. You're gonna win Power Veto. They put Brittany up against Cindy, and Cindy's going to ultimately leave. But during this week of safety, like I said, you just had a big high coming off of the house flip. You get nominated again, and you win the Power of Veto. tell me what you're trying to do. I know you're trying to stay in the middle, but there's obviously one side that, there's definitely people in the house that aren't afraid to put you on the block. So how are you going to kind of try to work this moving forward? Because Cindy did just help save you. Brittany's an ally. You are going to lose at least the side of the house right now that's not messing with you. You're not getting a lot of static from them. So how do you play this week, knowing that next week you could potentially be a target too? Again.
So this week, I knew at that point that if either Kev, Peely, Ashley, or Zach, or Willow won, I was going to sit on that block. But the good side of it is that I knew they would never have the numbers to vote me out because I had convinced the rest of the house that I was so less of a threat. I was really a nobody in the house. So, like, I wasn't worried at that point. My strategy was now I was going to start throwing competitions. I'm like, you know what? The reason you were on the block is because you won competitions and you just won this veto and saved yourself, which I didn't want to win that veto. But when I found out there was $5,000, I'm like, hey, I got to win it, man. It's cash. So, like, I was like, I just had to throw comps from that point onwards and talk to everybody. And even when Peely had nominated me, I still had to go up to her and say, Peely, I don't care you nominated me. I'm still your friend. I still want to work with you. It's all about, like, softening people up, you know. You can't show them you're upset that they put you on the block, you know. So I was just say, hey, I'm happy. I volunteered. I wanted to be on the block, you know. And that was my whole, like, gimmick that I want to go on the block. Please nominate me. I want to be the pawn, you know. Yeah.
Again, this is definitely harkens back to Dr. Will of Big Brother US. You know, like you just say, like, of course nominate me. I don't care.
Yeah.
You make the target so big on yourself that it ceases to exist.
Exactly. You got it, McRae.
It's brilliant. And fucking goddamn, hats off. You got to write a book after this.
Thanks a lot, man.
I would subscribe to your newsletter, motherfucker.
You guys are hyping me up too much, man.
Hey, Godfrey, this is with this veto. Like you showed, you can win some competitions. It shows that you get put back in the corner. You know, you can win your way out, which could make you be seen as a big threat going forward. But like with Peely and Kevin right now, is this the week? Now I can't remember on the feeds. I can't remember what week it was. Whether it's this week or next week, because Kevin, it was an HOH room both weeks. But there's one time that you try to make a deal with them to where you could work with them, and you said, even if I'm on the block, it doesn't matter as long as y'all are off. I need y'all off to keep me safe. You said, I don't want y'all on the block. I want you on the block, and if I'm on the block, y'all can keep me safe. I mean, that's really a pretty pretty gutsy move. But it's an interesting thing to try to, like, to let them know, hey, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. It's all good.
You know?
In fact, we're working together. Yeah.
That was Kev's HOH. Yeah, I remember that conversation.
Okay.
I literally just went upstairs and exactly what you said. You know, I was like, guys, because Peely had just nominated me the week prior. So I didn't want Kev to be paranoid or suspicious that Godfrey might be mad and he might want to avenge his nomination. So I was like, dude, I don't care about being on the block. I'm actually happy you nominated me, and I want you two to stay off. That way you guys can vote to keep me, and I will go on the block in your place. And that was an offer they could not refuse, because they were like, geez, this guy's freaking gonna sit on the block for us. We gotta keep him. And I just made sure I told that to everybody. Yeah.
No, that was I loved watching that take place. Hey, since we're kind of already into Kevin's HOH, since week 7, we'll just stay there for a second. He's going to nominate Bobby and Brittany, and he wins POV, all the power this week, and they really want to get Bobby out. Now this time, Bobby's not an enemy of yours at all. He's
not at all. Yeah,
he's an ally. So. Losing him over Brittany is still relatively pretty neutral, though, right? You've got just as much invested in both of them, would you say?
I'd say pretty much, you know. Like, I actually would have preferred if Brittany went home that week as opposed to Bobby, because I knew Brittany was an established pawn, and, like, she was the best pawn in the business, as we called her. And, like, I knew that if she stayed and I had the misfortune of sitting next to her, it would be a hard case for me to say, guys, vote on Brittany and keep me. So I was like, I have a better chance with Bobby surviving next to him, and that's the whole way I approached the game. I wanted people to stay who I had a better chance of beating if I were nominated next to them.
Okay.
So, like, but either way, I didn't campaign too much because, like, I was trying to build a relationship with Sarah and Brittany, and I actually threw a have-not comp in order to build that relationship. Because like we had to sleep in the have-not room together.
That's big.
And every night I had them at my disposal. I was
That's
able to listen
very,
in on
very
their
big.
conversations. I was able to see who they were mad at. And like that whole week, all I said was, "You two girls, you are my ride or die. I want to be with you two till the very end.
That's
I would
big.
never vote any of you two out." And like I really think I benefited a lot from that week.
Absolutely, that's a huge
That's awesome.
underused thing. Is the have-not room?
The have-not, exactly.
Yeah, at
Any
least
time alone you need.
Absolutely,
Yes,
that's big.
Absolutely. The have-not room is a place people think they don't want to be, but a lot of deals get
Uh-huh.
broken, a lot of relationships get
A
built
lot of deals.
in the
A lot of
have-not
deals.
room. So absolutely. Godfrey, I want to talk a little bit about, you were just talking about how Brittany was the best pawn in the business, and you felt like that might be the role that you were starting to play. So
Exactly.
it would have been okay if she leaves. Now that's interesting because you do some role shifting a lot with people. You wanted to be the pawn, and you would have been fine with Brittany going. I think you and Willow were playing some very similar games
A
in some
similar
ways.
game,
you needed
yeah.
her gone, and then at the end, Peely left, which made you everybody's man Godfrey to take to the end.
Yeah.
The way you try to play it. We're going to get there, and we'll start steamrolling through these next couple weeks because with the double and triple eviction, kind of make things happen
Yeah.
fast. There's not a lot
I
of
know.
game in between. But no, that's an interesting thing I noticed about your game is that you, when people would leave, you try to fill. You try
It's
to.
all
fill
about
in.
adapting, you know. Like
Yes.
whenever somebody left the house, as you said, there was a void that had to be filled, you know. Like you felt their absence.
Absolutely.
You felt that something was missing, and I felt like it was my duty to replace that, because there was always somebody pissed at whoever left, you know, and they wanted that person back. I was like, you know what? I'll fill in their shoes, and I'll be the new Peely. I'll be the new Britt, you know. I'll
That
be
is
the new Bobby.
amazing. That is such
Yeah,
a
I was
huge.
the new everybody. Whoever left, I was them for the
That's
next week.
insanity. It's so
Well,
good.
man,
It's so smart.
That is, and Bobby's going to leave day 49, which you say you would have rather Brittany leaves. Well, Brittany doesn't leave. Not only does she not leave, she's about to win this next HOH, and it's the triple eviction. Okay, now you've got a good relationship with Brittany, so this is honestly like, were you nervous? I'm sure you were nervous in the triple eviction because anything can happen.
Yeah.
So to ask if you're nervous would be ridiculous. Of course you're nervous, but she nominates Kevin, Peely, and Zach. When Bruno uses that power veto, when he wins that, this is what I want to talk to you about. You and Bruno were close. When he saves Zach, did you lose all trust for him at that point and made it impossible to work with him going forward?
Like, to be honest, right on that triple, like, soon as Brittany won the HOH, like, I was like, I'm set. I'm good to go. I knew I wasn't going anywhere. No chance in hell was I going to end up on that block, because, like, I was so tight with them. They really believed I was with them. And then Bruno, who had been my right-hand man for the longest time, when he uses a veto to save Zach, the guy we've been trying to get rid of for the entire time, I was really upset. Like, I didn't try to show it too much because, like, in the game, I learned to mask my emotions and never show my cards. But I was really disappointed in that decision. I do kind of understand why he did it, but at the same time, it compromised my safety because Zach would have come after me before Bruno. So I really felt like it was a slap in the face to me. But at the same time, the guy got to do what he got to do for his game, you know.
Absolutely.
But I was disappointed, man. Like, and you can tell Sarah was even more disappointed. Man, I thought a brawl was gonna go on in that pantry, man. Like,
Oh, so good. And you're right in the middle of it.
Tense thing ever.
So good.
Well, dude, when Bruno used that power veto, everybody in North America's jaw dropped.
They were like, "What?"
I was stunned. I was like, I knew what he was trying to do to some aspect, like as far as keep a target in the house.
I know,
like,
but not that target.
Zach going that deep, yeah, exactly. Like Kevin's a better target if you just want to.
He would have been a way better target because Zach had Peely and Ashley under his thumb. So I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah.
Like, and it forced me to now get rid of Willow, who I did want to get rid of because like I thought she was a way bigger threat than a lot of people. Like that girl was playing a flawless game. She was well connected, and the point at which I realized that Willow needed to go is when I went in the pantry. This is after Bruno saved Zach, and I'm pissed. But anyway, I still got to work with them. So I pulled them aside. I'm like, who do you guys want to get rid of? And they're like, right away, with hesitation, they said, we're keeping Willow. Willow's good. We can trust her. I go outside the pantry. I asked Britt and Sarah. I said, okay, who do you guys want to get rid of? And right away, with no hesitation, they're like, we want to keep Willow. Willow is our girl. And I was like, wait a minute. I got two sides gunning for each other, yet they all agreed to keep the same person. And that's when I knew Willow was playing both sides. And I'm like, that girl needs to go right away. And I cast my vote to evict Willow, you know, like, because I knew that, like, that's the role I wanted to play. And I was like, I can't have too much competition, you know. We can't all play the same game. Like, there can only be one kid in the house, you know.
That's it. Dude, that's being highly aware of what's going on. That's really awesome gameplay. Obviously, it's going to serve you well because it's going to get you farther and farther and ultimately to the end. Dude, yeah, Willow did need to go. She would have definitely thrown a wrench in your plans moving forward.
Absolutely.
And, you know, Zach stays. Zach will come after you. And not only you say he will, he does via Ashley, because Ashley's going to win this next HOH. So we got you and Sarah on the block. Well, Sarah is going to win the power veto. They're have-nots this week. Everybody knows that. And this is where you're sitting on the block with Brittany. Did you campaign against Brittany? What was your campaigning technique against Brittany that week?
Well, at that week, to be honest, I really didn't need to campaign at all. Like, my game had been set. I had done the work, and I had really much paved the road for me. The road was clear. I knew there's no way in hell they were going to vote me out. They were going to get rid of Britt because they were so scared of Sarah. And thanks to Bruno for telling everybody that Sarah's a huge manipulator, and they were terrified of that girl. The only one who wasn't scared of Sarah was me, because, like, I knew she was on my side. So, like, I wasn't worried at all. Like, I knew that they were going to gun for Sarah, and if Sarah didn't leave, then Brittany was going to go, because Brittany was seen as Sarah's right-hand woman. Once again, the problem of alliances, you don't want to be associated with one person, because when you go on the block, you go together. And they weren't going to get rid of me because I was alone. Who was I going to attack?
You had a case of there was always bigger fish to fry. There was always somebody that you could take out that was more attached to somebody else than you were. So there's no point. There's no real point getting rid of you. So okay, so you're going up there, and you thinking you're going to be there. It's not going to be any big deal. Brittany's about to go.
I was kind of worried at the end though. Like, you know, you can never be too safe on the block. You know. Because even though I may not have been campaigning, Sarah put in a lot of work. She campaigned her butt off for Brittany. And I was kind of like shaking in my boots because I'm like, I hope she didn't get to them, you know. Because Sarah, she knew what I was doing. And she knew that Godfrey's trying to play both sides. But at the same time, she couldn't do anything about it because she knew she needed me. If I left, she was screwed. Like, I was her number.
Yes.
The same way I was Bruno's number.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, you were everybody's. If we need one more, you know.
Exactly,
and that's more. That's how it worked. And okay, so she pulls out this have-not power. She could just save herself, but she chooses to save you. I mean, that is freaking huge in your game. Like, I know that with these things that are happening, it's bonding you and Britt and Sarah closer and closer. So even though you try to ride the middle, after all that kind of stuff happens, I mean, you start to lean. You know, you just naturally start to lean.
Definitely.
So is that the case with your relationship with Brittany and Sarah now? Are you really more towards them, or would you still honestly say that you're trying to play the middle? I know you're trying to create the best position for yourself, but at the same time, if you were to say that you're on one side closer to the other, would it be definitely Sarah? I mean, it would seem like it would have to be.
Absolutely, especially after Bruno had just left, who once again I would have preferred if Zach went home in that coup d'etat. But they voted on Bruno, which they did kind of do me a favor because I was never I don't think I would have had it in me to betray Bruno and get rid of him. So them getting rid of him on my behalf did help my game a lot. But then, like, I definitely did gravitate to Sarah and Brittany. I just didn't show it in the house. As far as Peely and Ash were concerned, I hated Britt and Sarah.
Yeah, sure. I knew
vice versa. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I knew the Godfrey Peely Ashley talks are always funny stuff for me to watch. I do want to talk about this. Like, okay, Zach and Bruno were both put up. And Bruno kept Zach because he wanted Zach to be this meat shield. Well, and
Yeah.
then Zach's the pawn against Bruno, and Bruno goes home. Okay, what was Bruno's
I'll tell
fight
you
with
right
Sarah?
now.
That was irreparable. There was no way for Bruno and Sarah
Yeah.
to ever mend fences, right?
What he did was basically a catch-22. Bruno
Sure.
wanted to save Zach so that Zach would be a bigger target. But what he didn't realize is that in saving Zach, you are now making yourself a bigger target. Because
Yes.
now people know you're willing to make risky moves, impulsive
Yes.
moves, and not consulting with your alliance. So right there, he dug a hole for himself. I tried to tell him throughout the week that, dude, you gotta apologize to Sarah, you know. Even if you don't mean it, it doesn't matter. Just tell the girl you're sorry. Tell her you're still on her side. Because if those two girls have any clue or suspicion that you are not with them, they're gonna come out of you, A, in resentment that you kept Zach,
Absolutely.
and B, just to stick it to you and say, look, now you're gone.
See,
And that's
I
exactly
always-
what happened.
Exactly. I always wondered. I know Bruno was trying to make a move, and I can appreciate that. And I know that you obviously can't speak for him, but at the same time, he didn't have any kind of numbers to piss off one entire side of the house's plans, just in the hopes that a showmance will pull him in as a rickety-ass third wheel and keep him safe. It was like I could see his thought process, but it just didn't quite materialize.
It
for him.
made no sense at all, because it was like, Peely and Ashley will never pick you over Zach. You will be at the bottom of that pile. Whereas with Sarah and Britt, you were kind of on an equal level with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I definitely think it was really a misjudgment on his point, you know. It had a lot of rationale behind it. If it did pay off, it would have paid off big time. But at the same time, if it failed, it would have failed big time.
Yes, no, and it did fail big time. But so Bruno goes home. We're into week 9. I mean, dude, this is the home stretch right here. Okay, we got Sarah's HOH. Ashley and Zach go up. Ashley starts a killer streak of comp POV wins here.
Oh, boy.
This is just her first. And then you're in a good spot here. You've made your friends with Sarah and Brittany. There's no problem right there. There's enough of the other side of the house to take care of nominations and renoms. So there's no sweat right there. No sweat right there.
Absolutely
and
not.
You know that Zach's got to go, and Zach goes. Okay, this double eviction, Godfrey, is a really critical point in your game, and I want to highlight it because this is where your relationship with Brittany and Sarah really, really pays off because you were the wrong decision for Brittany, in my opinion. Okay, so let's go into a double eviction. Brittany wins HOH. She puts Ashley and Peely up, trying to do you a favor, trying to do you a solid. Again, Ashley's going to win this POV that Peely just nearly won. Peely was so close to winning.
Oh, boy.
And she probably, if she'd have relaxed a little bit, she probably could have won that.
She probably could have won that.
POV, yeah, Brittany is not going to put Sarah up, so obviously you are going to be the pawn. Here you come into play. It's going to be Godfrey and Peely. Now, this is interesting to me. Ashley is going to vote to evict you. Sarah's going to vote to evict Peely. And then Brittany is going to be the tie-breaking vote. Okay. Now, you've got Peely up on the block against you. Somebody who's won a competition. Somebody that's the people, like, you worked enough with Brittany and Sarah. They know you're not a goof. They know you're not dumb. You know what I'm saying? They don't 100% trust you, but they trust you just enough. They don't 100% trust Peely either, but we're going into the final 4 where strategy doesn't make any difference. It's competition wins.
I'm
Peely's
telling you right now, they made the wrong decision. Yeah.
She quit 2 powers of veto. Why would you take somebody who's got every capacity to win out, which you didn't quite win out, but you're going to win this final HOH? And I don't get the thought process there. I know that they wanted to separate Peely and Ashley as a pair, but it really doesn't matter. And what's interesting here is at this point, Peely has got final 2. She has just got to hold on. She's got final 2 with anybody. Everybody wants to win.
And me, I wanted to go with Peely.
Yes.
I was so disappointed when Ash won because I was like, okay, my ticket to the 100,000, I just might have lost it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Hey, McCray, I was mind boggled when Peely sat next to me. I was like, okay, they cannot be that dumb to actually vote out Peely of all people over me. I didn't know whether to feel insulted or not that she was actually gonna like leave over me.
That's
But
so good.
once again, it's a testament to the social game that I played and my ability to control people's perception of who I am. They had no idea of their own of who Godfrey was.
Yep.
Godfrey to them was whoever I had built myself up to be,
Yeah.
and they really actually thought I couldn't win.
All they know about you is what you show them. You know, from the time
Exactly.
you're in that house,
All I showed
so
them.
you can control that perception. Brittany trusted you. She wanted to keep you over Peely because of the relationships y'all had in the past. I know that in her head, separating Ashley and Peely were the smart thing to do because they were working together.
Yeah, but it's not about working. It's about calm. The veto, the HOH will decide everything.
So she makes a critical error there that will, you know, it's the as far as biting her in the butt. We'll get to that. Okay, week 10, Sarah's HOH. She's going to put up you and Ashley. Ashley's going to win this power of veto. So it's you and Brittany. You're not stressing at all right now because you've had enough of a relationship with Ashley that you know she's going to want to take out Brittany.
Yeah.
Which this, I believe, could have been her big mistake too. Is she wanted to separate Sarah and Brittany more than she wanted to take somebody into the final HOH that she had a better chance of beating. Yes. So I think that there was some bloodlust right there in these few days between getting Peely and Ashley separated and getting Brittany and Sarah separated, that you were able to slide right through on.
And that was the perfect scenario for me, the perfect one. Because my dream coming into the Big Brother house was to be final 5 with 2 people on one side who hate the other 2 people, and then I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
Because I know at that point, like I'll tell you right now, as soon as Zach left that house, I knew I was guaranteed final 2, no matter what happened. I didn't have to win any HOH. I didn't even have to win the final HOH. I knew whoever won, they would never vote me out because they were so upset over each other for voting each other's allies. Yeah. And like they were playing emotionally at that point. They were like, oh, you took out my best friend. I was like, forget your best friend. Like your best friend came to win some cash. Like you need to be worried about, as you said, who you can beat, not who you are more pissed off at. And I think that was their flaw. They wanted to break people up at a point where it doesn't matter if somebody has numbers. They're not going to have comps where numbers will favor the person. It's all about who can win, you know?
Absolutely. So, dude, we're at the final 3. You've worked your way through this entire house. You've gone through all these people. It's at the final 3, okay? And what's interesting about this final 3 is you all 3 got there by very different tracks. You have Ashley, who's on one side of the house with Chop Shop early and then diapers. You had Sarah, who basically lost a ton of allies early, aligned a little bit, strategically aligned with Brittany, who won the triple eviction HOH and the double eviction HOH. That really helped them, plus that have not power. So you've all gotten there very different ways. And there you are. You win the first and the third, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you win the first and the third. What's the game talk in the house? Are you even considering taking Ashley? Did you tell her that you were considering taking her? What's the story there? Tell me about the final 3 talk.
Well, for the longest time, my ideal scenario was to be in the final 2 with either Ashley or Peely, because I thought the perception of these 2 girls was that they were carried by their boyfriends and didn't really do anything. And I thought that's what the jury would think, so that's why I wanted to bring them. But then Ashley started to really kill it in the comps. She won POV after POV after POV. And like when you're that close to finale, the jury, they're going to remember what's fresh on their mind. That, this girl won 3 POVs in a row. And they're not going to like take into account that, okay, it was against like 2 people. So it wasn't really that much competition. But like I knew she'd had a lot of respect. And not even that, she didn't even need to win those comps. She had good relationships on the jury. She had a locked up vote in Peely and Zach 100%. And Zach had a lot of influence in the house throughout the game. And I figured the jury would be no different. People who listen to Zach in the house were going to listen to him in the jury. And also, Ashley had been in a lot of alliances, as you said, the Chop Shop, the diapers. So, like, she was no slouch by any means. Like, she might have not had a lot of respect in the house, but I know that girl, she was smart, and she did put herself in a lot of alliances, and everybody wants to see their alliance win. They want to be like, oh, a diaper won the season, and I was part of the diapers. The same way you would have been proud to see a member of the moving company win. You know, because you'd be like, hey, I was part of that alliance.
Yeah.
So I was so scared. I was so scared about that because I was like, man, like, you know, they could want to vote her for her simply because they were in alliance with her. And Sarah, on the other hand, played a totally different game. She got a lot of blood on her hands, broke a lot of bridges. And my rationale with her was, if I take Sarah, me and her are kind of competing for the same votes in Britt and Cindy. But at the same time, she did burn a lot of people, which I was fortunate enough not to have done. I didn't betray anybody in the game. I didn't backstab anybody. So, like, it was like a toss-up, you know. I was like, it was one of those decisions that you make at the last minute. At the very last minute.
That was big. Well, both you guys had great speeches. Shit.
Yes, you did have a great speech. I wanted to ask you, is there anything that you should have highlighted in your speech about your game that you did not highlight?
To be honest, I don't really think that the speech had any sway on who won, you know. Like, this is not like, I don't know, what can I compare it to, you know. It's like the primaries, you know, like the elections there. You have, like, the debates between Barack Obama and what's that guy, Mitt Romney, when they did it last year. Like, I don't think it really mattered what they said in the debates. You know, people were gonna vote for who they were set to vote for. You know, it's not about the debate; it's about the campaign they ran throughout the years prior. And just like the Big Brother game, it wasn't about that final jury speech. It was about my campaign throughout the game. And if there's anything I wish I would have highlighted, I wish throughout my gameplay I would have highlighted to people and kind of let them in on what my strategy was, so that when they leave, they have a better idea of that Godfrey, this is the game he's playing, you know, and they don't have to stretch their head and be like, oh, that guy didn't even win anything. I don't want to vote for him. He left. I left before him. I'm bitter. So, like, I wish I would have highlighted it in my game and not have to rely on a final speech.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Well,
That's big.
Bruno obviously knew that you were playing a good game.
Exactly.
Kevin,
because Bruno was close to me. Yeah.
Yes, and Kevin in interviews said that it was he thought you could win it. So there were people that were kind of onto what you were not onto what you were doing, but at least aware that you were playing a good game. Yes, absolutely. Man, let me see, man. Hell, we're at the vote time. I guess we should go over JP, Candace and Jordan's vote. Just kind of briefly run down why. Was that just who you could live with between the other two, or you didn't feel like you're getting JP's vote anyway, so you thought him tossing him out was fine? What was your rationale with the JP vote, kicking Jordan out of the jury?
My rationale with the JP vote is I knew JP because he had left so early on in the game. He really didn't know what went on, and all he had to rely on was the information that was brought to him by the next evicted house guest. And the first person evicted after him was Cindy, somebody who is pro Sarah, and really, so I knew that, she would push for Sarah and she wouldn't push for me. And then the person who left after that, Willow, and Bobby and Kev, and I knew these are people who were close to Ashley. So I figured they would kind of give a narrative that was pro Ashley to JP. Gotcha. So I felt like he was just a wild card, there was no telling what he was gonna do. And his relationship with Zach really scared me because Zach is somebody I didn't expect to vote for me in the end. And I figured, man, Jordan was so into Zach, was so team Zach, that who's to say he's not gonna want to vote whichever way Zach votes. So and we all agreed on that, and we were like, hey, we gotta get rid of Jordan first into the jury. He gotta be the first out. Yeah,
that's good.
Makes sense.
Man, Godfrey, it was freaking awesome, man, sitting down here with you. It's been awesome getting to know you from Niagara.
Hey, man, I'm
telling you, the other day and had a good time. You're awesome.
Had a blast with both of you guys, man.
Absolutely,
so
much
dude.
fun.
Honestly, I wish the jury had been able to understand your game a little bit better. I think you played a winning game. Thank you so much, man. Obviously, I know you're proud of the runner-up, but you were so much more than that. You played a great game. You played a new kind of game, and I think that you're easily going to be a fan favorite for many years to come. You're very entertaining in the diary room and on the feeds. Lots of fun, man. Your DR count was through the roof.
Holy,
and we're just really proud that you're able to sit down, go through your complicated game with us week by week, and explain to all the fans.
Hey, no
out
problem
there
at all,
what you
guys.
had going
No problem
on.
at all.
But
awesome.
do you have anything you want to shout out? Do you have any like meet and greets coming up?
Right now, hey, like I'm just kind of keeping a low profile at this point, trying to readjust to the real world, get my schooling back, like catch up on like my books, all of that, and just like chill. It's summertime,
Absolutely.
But like anything, like just shout out. Like I'll let you guys know, like on Twitter, you guys know BBCan3 Godfrey, my Instagram at Godfrey the Godfather. And I got a question for McCray, man. Are you gonna pull up the man bun, dude?
No,
I
did actually.
My sister's asking, man. She's like, tell McCray he's gotta do a man bun, man.
Sure.
Oh Jesus. Oh, okay, yeah. I guess I have to now. I'll do it. It's summertime. It's the summertime. Yep. It's good. It's good summertime style.
Yeah.
McCray, what do you have?
What was that, Spencer?
What do you got?
I've got nothing. Everyone go to hamsterwatch.com. Get your Big Brother 17 feeds through Hamsterwatch. She's the official supporter of On the Block. She's the best. Everyone go get your feeds through her. If you're in Canada and you want live feeds for Big Brother 17, she has a workaround on her website, so go there. Figure it out. Godfrey, she was a huge supporter of you the whole season. She was the biggest.
What's up, man?
Oh yeah. You should follow her on Twitter. She's the best.
Absolutely.
She's the best. She's huge.
And have to watch. Okay.
Yep. She's huge Godfrey fan, supporter. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. Everyone go send your love to Hamsterwatch. She's the best.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hey, enjoy talking to you guys so much, man. Like you guys understand the game, your breakdown. I can't believe you guys actually took notes, man. I thought you were just
man, I got pages and pages of notes. You can see these things.
This guy has a full, and you did that for like everyone you interviewed too, right?
Spencer's on top of his game. Thank you, Spencer. I appreciate it. Just making the best damn show.
Right here, man.
Best damn show there ever was.
There's nothing I like more than talking Big Brother.
I'm telling you. I see you guys, like, when you guys came on, I'm like, man, these guys are laid back. Like, do they know what they're talking about? And this guy actually knows the whole season better than me. Jeez, man. You guys are on top of it, man. You guys are on top of it.
Yeah, well, you lived it and could only see so much. I was able to watch it, so that
I know,
to know what's up with it. But no, Godfrey, we do appreciate it. To everybody out there that watch, thank you so much for watching live. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Also, if you're listening to this on iTunes, thank you very much. But yeah, follow me, Ed Spencer B. Clausen. We'll be back with more of the BB Canada 3 house guest game breakdowns on Monday. We have some scheduled Monday, maybe some scheduled Tuesday. So be looking for Twitter for official announcements there. So anyway, thank you very much. And McCray, you can take us on out.
Thanks again, Godfrey. We really appreciate it. And
no problem, man.
Again, fucking, you should write a book. You should have, there needs to be a fucking seminar passed out at the Church of God. Shit. There has to be something, because, man,
Church of God.
You definitely fucking play a game that is very different than anyone I've ever seen, and I think that it definitely deserves to go down in history as one of the most unique games, and as one that should be studied and followed accordingly, because it's a fucking game winner. Absolutely.
Full proof, man. Always, forever imitated, never replicated.
No, really, there's a lot of takeaways. There honestly are a lot of takeaways from your game. At different points, different takeaways. But you played an interesting and fun and memorable game. And more than anything, Godfrey, that separates you from a lot of people that play games that you could consider similar or had some some likenesses to them, as far as people that went through the house, relatively unassociated with anybody else, is that you had you were very aware of what you were doing, and you let the audience in the diary room know what you were doing and working through it. Whereas other people aren't able to articulate that in the diary room, and it doesn't come out. Whereas we were able to enjoy your game with you, and that made you an excellent hamster this year. So anyway, that's all I got to say. I'm losing my voice from all this game talk.
All right. Thanks a lot again. Thanks everyone.
You guys, man.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. See you soon. Take care, everyone.
All right, man. Take out, man. Do it up, guys.